Well, hello and welcome to episode 174 of the ANF podcast from the ANF network with me, Scott Casson-Rennie, and him,
Al Coates.
Al Coates.
Happy birthday, Scott.
Yeah, and for there's two birthdays.
Easy. I was going to say, you've just flicked me the V's there.
Yeah, sorry. Which birthday are you referring to?
Well, you very, very appropriately announced that it's actually our 7th birthday as a podcast this week, or last week when this comes out. Yeah, 12th of October. Oh, Scott, we were so young.
And naive.
Fresh-faced.
Such plans.
Hope in our hearts.
Although, like I did say to you before we started recording, you're lucky we're still speaking to each other. Never mind doing a podcast together after 7 years.
You have moved country.
Well, yes. But think about 7 years. A lot. Loads. Thousands of things has happened in 7 years. Nearly died. You nearly lost your hand. You've become a grandparent. I'm about to become a grandparent. I've moved not to a different country, left a job.
I got an MBE.
You got that chocolate symbol for your chest or whatever it was. We've been trolled, we've been loved, we've been trolled some more.
We've laughed.
We've laughed. We've
cried.
Yes. So 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, happy birthday to you as well.
And happy birthday to you. I think it was a great idea of you to start a podcast. I have a list as long as your arm at the beginning of we're on the very eve of National Adoption Week, and I've got a long list of stuff to get to in terms of news and government policy reports.
Because I think we just need to say we have very limited discussions and chats over the summer because we have been just insanely busy, both of us, all of us.
Absolutely.
So this is really the first time we've spent just time together chatting. So this could go anyway. This could literally go anyway.
And the terms of the restraint order have finally lapsed, so now we can get back together and talk. The first thing I want to say, Scott, you've had a bad day, haven't you?
I have, Al. I have. And we're not going to dwell on it too much because I have on my side here, I have a very, very large glass of wine because today I had to take the very difficult decision to put our 16-year-old dog down. So I'm having a very large glass of wine because it's been quite a horrid day. And of course, as with any animal that you have put down, they tend to do at the end of the day. So at 5:30 this evening, I was in the vets with my little Harry, and I said goodbye to him. So yeah. He was very old and very, what's the word? Lame, should we say? He was deaf, he was blind, which, to be fair, that's half this house anyway, because he neither hear you nor see you. So it was not unusual for the dog to be the same. But yeah, he's gone to a better place, shall we say, over the Rainbow Bridge, as the vet said, which I wasn't sure what she meant by that, because I'm not sure there's a rainbow bridge to anywhere particularly. But
is he turning gay when he gets there?
Well, he might, if he wasn't gay already. Who knows?
So I just anyway. Well,
how would we know? I don't know. How do dogs? Let's not go there. That's a different podcast. A completely different. But thank you for asking. But yes, it's been a hard day, so I'm looking forward to you cheering me up.
Well, Scott, this is the moment, and I'd just like you to know that we're going to keep the video of this bit because this is quite a moment. It was my birthday last week, was it?
It was.
Yeah, it's your birthday next week. It's my birthday last week, and I was 52, and I did a really good trick of actually just telling everyone I really wanted nothing to happen, and it was just like another Tuesday, and we had the best birthday I've ever had because that was no expectation. But in the midst of all that, I opened a box, and there was two boxes together. It was very odd because it was like a random box shape, when you get to a certain age and you kind of know what's going to be given to you. And these were sort of a very peculiar sort of shape and consistency. And I thought, well, what could be in there? And Scott, I just want you to know that I've been given two very special gifts. And your reaction will probably be like my reaction. And this is them. I'm bringing them on the screen now for the dear listeners.
Oh my God. Are you for real?
No. I've got to screenshot that image.
Oh my God, wait a minute. I've got to take a photo of that. Sorry, listeners. We're not going to edit this, but that is just hilarious.
So it's two small cuddly toys. One is a little lumberjack and one is a man wearing a mankini, but photographs.
I just saw that.
So one has got a photograph of my face on, the lumberjack, and the one in the mankini has got. And honestly, I was genuinely appalled when I first pulled them up because the heads are the same size as human heads.
Yeah.
And well, if you leave them around the house, I keep walking in and going, "Oh my God, go out!"
So I don't know what's more horrifying: the fact that I take it this was a good Mrs. C.
Of course it was.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether I like having those 6-pack lines or not because.
Well, it's a good thing.
Oh, that is hilarious. And I love how you didn't post on social media about that because, like, you waited till now.
I've waited.
And I'm hilarious.
I'm going to edit that piece of video because this is recorded on video as well. I'm going to edit that piece of video just to get your reaction because I think that's quite special. And I might refrain and just release it on Saturday. Or maybe I'll trail it. I'll trail it. That's a good something.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah. So yeah, my birthday was all good. Everything fine. Scott as well. I mean, we are kind of into the long grass. There's lots of stuff to get to, but I think it's important as well to acknowledge that last week or the week before, sorry, the day of the Openness and Adoption Conference, you were doing something quite important yourself. So how did that go? Tell us about that.
Yes.
Whatever you're up to.
Oh God! Well, I sent you photographs, and you nearly. Wow!
Whoa! Flashback. Your bug's alive.
Oh, well, I'd actually forgotten. So that was last Wednesday.
No, it was a week on Wednesday.
No, so 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks Wednesday. Yeah. And bearing in mind we are recording in advance of whenever this goes out. I think this will go out on the 14th of October. Anyway. So on the 20th of September, I went for my annual checkup, which I had last year. It wasn't an annual one; it was a 6-monthly one. But it was supposed to be the same procedure. And where do I even start? I'll try not to go on too long about it. But when they told me, so it was the same letter, same procedure, blah blah blah, same rules, same you can't have any breakfast, all that sort of stuff, and what have you. And I was like, cool, fine, no problem, no anxiety about it till the day before. Which, unlike last year, I was traumatized by even the thought of it because I didn't want to Google it. I didn't want to see YouTube videos, unlike my husband watching them in my presence, and then flinching and nearly vomiting when he saw them. So that wasn't helpful. But anyway, long story short, they remembered because they wrote it in my notes that I was to be sedated. So that was a big tick. But when they said, we're also going to give you painkillers, I was thinking, well, you didn't do that last year. So why would you be giving me painkillers this year? Didn't think much of it. Just thought, well, that'll be nice because then, I'll just be easy, oozy, floaty afterwards. And then they also said, we're also going to give you a steroid because you're allergic to the dye. Because last year, after they used metallic dye when they flood your head, and I came out in the worst rash ever, like literally allergic to the dye. So they had it all under control, and I was like, "This is great. This is fantastic." So they put the cannula in, blah blah blah. Had the procedure, which it's called a cerebral angiogram. So it's where they basically put a catheter in through your groin, and they go up to your neck with the catheter. So the catheter ends at your neck. And the artery that they use is obviously the one that goes up to the brain. And then what they do is they inject slowly certain amounts of this metallic dye, and then they obviously have you on the screen. But you can't really see the screen because I'm just sitting there thinking, oh, look, there's a fly. Oh, look. Oh,
so you're high as a kite.
Yeah, pretty much.
Chilled out.
So
Chilled
it was great. It was great. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Just do whatever. Anyway, so they came to the end of the procedure and they showed me the screen. They showed me my coils on the screen. I've never seen them before, but they showed me where they were.
Nice.
And they showed me my brain and all that sort of stuff. So I wish I was able to take my phone in with me to take photos. That kind of, what's that called? Where you're a bit like weird about stuff like that, but you could, what's it called when you?
I don't know. Maybe it's a.
Anyway, it's got a name. It'll come back to me. As you can see, the memory is still not great. Anyway, so I had the procedure, and unlike last year, I was allowed to go after 2 hours last year. Not this year. No. 4 hours. I had to lie flat on my back. I wasn't allowed to move for 4 hours. And of course, when you're lying on your back, men of a certain age with their bladders, they tend to hurt
Yes.
after a while if they're feeling a little bit full. Anyway, he managed to move onto my side. That relieved the pressure because they gave me one of those things, them things that you can pee into in hospital.
Yeah, like
a pee
random
thing. Yeah,
pee
a
thing.
pee thing. Yeah, whatever.
Pee thing. A bedpan.
That's it. I couldn't use it. I couldn't use it because it was so like the cubicles were so small, and I was conscious that the woman who was with the man next door, her arse kept on flapping through the curtain and all that sort of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, I'll get caught.
Performance anxiety.
I'll get caught with my willy out, and I'm just not doing it. I'm just not prepared to do it. So I managed to get myself on my side. Anyway, long story short, eventually after my tea and toast, which can I just say, hospital post-treatment tea and toast is just the best thing ever. All right, I don't care what anyone says. Tea and toast in hospital after procedure is just the best thing ever. 4 hours laid there. Tris came in to get me, and they put a nice big sticky bandage on my groin and all that sort of stuff. And within about 2 hours, Al, I was literally looking like a pincushion. The bruising was unbelievable. Now, last year, not even a pinprick. Couldn't even see a pinprick. This year, my whole leg was literally black.
What you did post it on social media in a shameless manner, I have to say.
Yes. And I did
can I interject?
Yeah,
well, exactly that. So last year, as I sent you a picture of my gammy finger, and then this year you sent me a picture of your nethers.
Yes, I did, because you nearly made me sick with your gammy finger.
Well, I was in polite company, and a message from Scott, my good friend. Let me have a little look. What the hell? That's how I lose my registration.
Listen, there was a
website.
There was a worse photo than that. You'd be glad I didn't send you that one.
No, I've seen too much.
So anyway, long story short, I'm at the doctor's tomorrow because I'm going on holiday on Wednesday, and I just wanted to check it out because the bruising's still there. It's not as bad. It has started to come down, but yes, quite a horrific thing. However, the great news is, and I'm sure everybody will be nonplussed by it, that they've told me that whilst one of the coils has started to compact, so it's started to shrink in the one of the aneurysms. It's not of any concern. I don't have to go back for 2.5 years. So that's great news.
Good news. That is great news.
So we'll take that as a win. Yes. Yeah. And thank you for asking, Al. I know that was a long, old kind of explanation, but I feel like I had to set the tone and all that sort of stuff.
You're a bit like Ronnie Corbett. These long-winded, other people have just said, "Oh, it was fine." Stung a bit, but no, never used two words when 37 would do.
And I wonder why Jacob takes you 10 minutes to tell a story that could take just 10 seconds. But there you go.
You feel my pain. Well, on the same day, I went to the Openness and Adoption Conference, and that was really good. But there's a podcast out about that, so I don't really feel a need to refresh that. But I really thought it was a really good day, and I thought it was just what I was really pleased about was the kind of the amount of people there, and I think that's the thing that was exciting. And I think there was about 500 attendees, and I think there was. I mean, anyone who's kind of familiar with this world, if you want to go and Google it and look online, then you can see that there's a bit of a roar. But I think that the worst thing that could have happened was no one was talking about it. So I think, it is what it was, and other opinions are available and people have got all of that. So I'm not going to rehash any of that. So that's another thing that I was up to. You were going to come as well, weren't you?
I was going to come.
And that would have been great fun.
The same thing. Yeah. It would have been. It would have been. Yeah.
So I'm working through my long list of things.
Can we just touch on one thing that happened today? Today's Monday, yes. So new CEO of the Consortium of Voluntary Adoption Agencies, friend of the show, Satwinder Sandhu.
Absolutely.
So IAC,
CVAA.
No, so he was the CEO of Intercountry Adoption Agency, wasn't he?
Yes. IOC.
Which has become a part of Quorum now. So it's Quorum Intercountry Adoption now, I believe.
Yeah.
Which, is quite sad in some ways, but obviously it needed to happen. So, but,
wow.
Good luck, Quorum. I'm not sure they needed anything more because I think that they're, but anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's really interesting that, Sat is, friend of the show, and he's really, he knows what he's doing, and I think he's a really able guy.
Absolutely.
But I do think it's interesting, and I think, the IOC, international. Anyway, those guys. I think that when we've got to kind of get used to it. I think that we're going to see as adoption shrinks as we want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It had a good run, it was, and
But it's interesting. And what I hope, though, because I think CVAA has become, so Annie was around. Annie, what's her second name? I can't remember.
Crombie.
Annie Crombie. Now she was a force to be reckoned with, was Annie. But anyway, Annie left a couple of years ago.
She told us off, didn't she? Do you remember telling us?
She was always telling us off.
We got proper dressed down, didn't we?
Yeah, so she was the CEO for a long time, and the CVAA seemed to be present. It seemed to be there. It seemed to be doing things. It seemed to be really engaging with agencies and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not sure what happened, and I'm not sure whether it was just a change in direction or whatever when Maggie took over. But
didn't they lose the secretariat?
They did. Yes.
And I think that,
So I think that probably didn't help. But
so do you want to explain that to people? Because that we're just talking maybe in jargon there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So they were the secretariat for the ASGLB, as was the Adoption Special Guardian Leadership Board, which was the ALB back when they had it, and obviously it tried. Yeah. So they used to administrate
It's quite a big job. Yeah,
it was a very big job, and they used to run events and all the rest of it on behalf of the DfE for the ALB and for other agencies, and the Adoption Support User Group that I was kicked off of.
But there was an element of them being the neck that turned the head, in the sense that that's maybe derogatory, but in the sense that they had a strong influence and steer over which way they went. And I'm sure that maybe the ministers in the DfE would maybe disagree with that, but it felt like that they had a positive influence. So
they did. They absolutely did. Yeah. And then obviously that came up for retender, and obviously they didn't get it, and Quorum I got it. And fair play to Quorum I. And they've done
great job,
just as good a job of what they've done, because I think the format of it all changed as well. And I don't think it was quite as big a thing as it was maybe back in the day. So the CVAA have been doing things, but they've not been as present as I remember them. And I saw on Sat's LinkedIn post today, because he started today as CEO, and I did say that hopefully we'll begin to see more of a presence again, because I think that the CVAA is a very key part of what is happening with adoption right now.
I don't know. Is it a poison chalice?
Well, perhaps it is, but I think that actually they could really, really do some fantastic work if everything that's changing around adoption. I think that they could really pick it up, because I think they could actually be the people that help to change some of the I know that the Ofsted thing
ahead of the message sort of thing.
Yes,
be the one that drives the message, as opposed
rather than be just following on and saying, that's a good idea, and engage with the adopted people who don't have the platform to be able to share their experiences and all that sort of stuff. I just think that this would be the time would be now for someone like the CVAA to have that, because it is the consortium of voluntary adoption agencies. But I just think that there has to be, we have to have something for that, and I think that it could be them. So I've got my fingers crossed. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. And does it concern me anymore? No, it doesn't, because I don't live in England. So but just my experience,
Yeah. Well, that's not. I think that's a bit disingenuous to yourself. I think you are genuinely interested. I think you keep your finger on the pulse. Now, so we're going from the national to the mundane. Scott, I applied for a new job.
Oh, did you? McDonald's recruiting now, are they?
Do you know that I once applied for McDonald's and I didn't get it?
No, I know. I once applied to Tesco's and I didn't get it, and that says something.
Too soon. I was shocked. I'm the only person I've known that's never got a job in McDonald's. I can't. I applied for a job as a panel chair.
You didn't tell me the panel chair. You just said panel. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I've got a few thoughts on that.
But why I didn't get it, or the job?
No, because Well, actually, that's a bit rude. Actually, You didn't get the chair's job. But the reason I'm saying that is
people
because
applied who were really good.
Yeah, well, obviously, but I'm thinking in terms of progressiveness and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think that given all we know, but maybe that's why you didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good reset for me because I thought it made me really think about, well, where am I and what do I want to do? And I thought it's an opportunity to have kind of an influence into an RAA, and it's a really important job. And I think they were right in the sense that I've not got a massive amount of experience of chairing things.
Right. Okay.
So I thought, yeah, actually, on reflection, that's probably right. When I saw who got the job, who people with lots of experience of chairing things, so that's good. But they offered me a job on the post on panel, so I said, after my initial, oh my god, I can't believe it, they didn't give me a job.
How dare you?
How very dare you? And I then thought, no, actually, I'll do that. I'll be up for that. Yeah, and I'll maybe be an influence there.
Well, do you know, it's. I mean, I don't sit in a panel anymore because the agency that I sat in the panel for, they stopped doing assessments because of the landscape, which I totally get. And I think that whatever people say about us, we absolutely. Well, I personally went into those panels really challenging people with their opinions and their ideas and stuff to make sure that we're really up to date as possible, and that bearing in mind it was a voluntary agency, so it wasn't a local authority, so the children had all the children were being placed separately. This was about a couple's or a single person's suitability to adopt rather than actually placing children. But I think that it's such an important thing to make sure that panel members are very much up to date and don't have this kind of old-fashioned view on adoption. And in actual fact, what you listen to, so not what you hear, but what you listen to, is actually reflects in what your input is into panel. So I think, I loved my time on the panels, absolutely, and I would do them again at a drop of a hat. But yeah, and I think that you're the same as me in that sense. That you would be definitely kind of thinking, and I think as well you're. The length time I've known you, don't take this the wrong way, but you have grown as an individual as well. You might be 52, but no, you have since, because when I first met you, you didn't know any gay people.
I'd seen them on the telly.
Well, exactly. So Colin and what's his name on EastEnders, 1982 or whatever it was.
With the comment from our last podcast, which hasn't been released yet, is still ringing in my ears. I'm not going to preempt it. I will. You will know when yes, about me and you and what you brought to the table. Anyway, I think that there's, in terms of the panel. Anyway, back to the panel. I am really looking forward to that, but it's set in the context of my RAA. My RAA has kind of aligned with some other RAAs to become a centre for excellence, which has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. So that's interesting. And they've setting.
I think there's a reason why it's gone under the radar a little bit. I think that's because there's less of it's being less public now. I think all these kind of progressive ideas and things, and I think part of that is because you're getting shot down straight away for even mentioning that you're trying to improve things or that you're trying to change things, because instinctively,
it's a hostile environment.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think the days of being able to post about these celebrations, and I will call it a celebration because a centre of excellence isn't just about saying, "Oh, adoption is fabulous." It's about looking at the guts and nuts and bolts of adoption. And I think that as soon as you say centre of excellence, people think, "Oh, so you're saying that adoption is the most amazing thing," and blah blah, without looking at the context behind it. And I think that's telling. And my social media feeds now is very little about adoption. So
oh, it's almost silent because that there's the backlash is not. I can post anything about adoption, and I know that I will get people kind of who use that as a springboard to talk about what they want to talk about adoption, which I guess that's the nature of social media. It's a social market. It's a marketplace. So that's not a criticism of anyone, but it just means that people who don't particularly want to get into some sort of, and then it gets personal and yada yada yada. So why would you do it? So that's fine. Yeah. So I'm on
well done you.
Panel.
Well done you. I can't wait to hear more about that offline because you no doubt
Well, up to now, I've got to get my DBS through the system, haven't I, and all that kind of stuff. So,
good luck with that, then, mate.
I did think that. I was having this comment with someone. I said, I'd really struggle to be approved as a foster carer now because of some of the stuff that's gone down in terms of, doing a local authority check. The local authority lit things of all the things that have happened in the house, children that don't, child in need, all of that kind of stuff. People would go, foster carer, really? Anyway, people will go on and work that out. Right, I'm working my way through my very long list of things we need to talk about. Shall we talk about it's National Adoption Week? What are you? I mean, you'll be on holiday. You're going for a Cass and Rennie weekend, aren't you? Which is about 6 or 7 weeks, is that now? Bloody hell.
Okay, so just so you know what my October and November is. So
right, okay, I'm going to write this down. Right.
So I am literally a week, a proper me and you week, 7 days in Turkey with she's like my sister, but she's my friend, her mum and my goddaughter. So that's happening this Wednesday. Then I'm back and the baby is due.
Baby.
So I'm going to be staying in the UK for a couple of weeks with my friend who I've just talked about there, because that's where I stay, and they're not too far away from where my oldest son and his girlfriend live. So yes, I will be a grandparent in October, which is rather exciting, but also
terrifying.
Anyway, yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait for her to be born, because it is a she and I know her name and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not going to share any of that on this. Not going to tell everybody, because that would be oversharing. And then on the 25th, Tris and I are going for a 2-week cruise across the Atlantic.
It's not 2 weeks.
Well, it's not, but the cruise is 2 weeks. It's just that the whole time that we're away is 3 weeks.
Exactly. So it's a Tris week. My guts. It's a Tris. Oh, it's a Tris. It's Tris early afternoon.
Yeah.
I'm just knocking off a few hours early. 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, do you know what? It's just been one of those years for us, and we're treating ourselves and we're celebrating becoming grandparents. So there you go. Anyway.
On holidays, Mrs. C's going off to Australia for 3 weeks.
Yes, I know. What's that all about?
What the hell?
Yeah. Did the moss survive when you opened your wallet for this? I'm just.
Hush your wicked mouth. No, she's always wanted to go.
That's why you've taken that job on the panel, isn't it?
Honestly, McDonald's. No, she always wanted to go, so I said, now it might be the moment. Let's do it. And then her brother and brother, she's going to go with her brother, so that's really cool. Yeah.
And I don't really want to go. Our cousin's just moved there, hasn't she?
Yeah, cousin's moved there, and like it's never going to get easier. So we just thought we'd do it. So she's got somewhere to stay and live there, so that's fine.
But listen, we've got plans. We're going to Canada, aren't we? So it's all good.
Well, yeah, I'm working on that. I'm meeting someone tomorrow about that, so that's all good. Right. There's so much news, so much stuff has gone on. It's National Adoption Week coming up.
It is, yes.
I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it anymore. I've swung from being to hey, and now I just feel like, it's a thing.
So I had this issue on FASD Awareness Day on the 9th of September. And this is my reflections of that, and I said it actually on my other podcast. You may want to take a listen. FASD, What's to Crack, from FASD Ireland on the NF network. But yeah, nice. So we did a review of FASD Awareness Day, myself and Maggie, and I mentioned on there this thing about happy FASD Day, this happy thing. So people celebrating FASD.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that's the right way to kind of frame it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that when we say National Adoption Week, it used to be, and it did, and I was the world's worst for it. I used to say, it's National Adoption Week, and this is how great it is, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like you, I don't feel like that anymore. I want to celebrate the fact that, I've got my children and I hold them and love them dearly, but I now understand the complexities of adoption.
Yeah.
And just how I don't want to say it's like the most stupid thing in the world, but it's actually the most stupid thing in the world in this modern age. And it's National Adoption Week, but how are we framing it? The hashtag You Can Adopt will be all about recruitment, and this one will be all about that. But what about the complexities of it, the downsides of it, how it affects people, all that sort of stuff? And I just don't think that's there. And for that reason, I'm going to do a Dragon's Den. I'm out. There you go. I'm not even engaging with it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. And I think we probably felt exactly the same last year. I'm conscious that it has broadened it in terms of its sort of level of diversity and sort of asking bigger questions. I mean, this week, we've got a podcast coming out from Christy, who's a birth parent, fantastic podcast, and really, and just show that, and it's not a, whatever you want to, however you want to characterize birth parents, they're just not that. They're not that. There's nuance and complications, and she's really articulate and able to, and she put together a really cracking, really, she articulates really well her the whole thing, but also you come away going, there's lots of complicated questions, and she sort of acknowledges that. So
well, no different to we had an email the other day, didn't we? And we responded to it. It's someone from another podcast, and I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but anyway, they're adopted people, and we said, yeah, fine. Well, you said fine, yeah, come on. And then you said to me, do you want to be involved? And I'd seen the reply, and it said, just so you know, these guys are what's it called? Pro-preservation, family preservation. Yeah. And I said to you, I said, absolutely, I want to be on that because I am pro-preservation of families as well.
Yeah.
It's not. I think there's this kind of thing about adoptive parents being pro-children put into the care system and pro-children being adopted and stuff like that. And I think that actually we've moved on. Well, you and I have certainly moved on from that. I can't speak for every adoptive parent in the world, but certainly we have moved on from that. We've moved on from that kind of frame of mind of thinking that, yes, well, if a child is in the care system, then why would you not adopt them? We've kind of gone through that. We've gone through that journey, and I won't lie, it's because of this podcast that I've gone through that.
We've rubbed shoulders with so many amazing people.
Well, all those conversations that we've had, especially in the first couple of years, I used to listen to every single conversations from the ANF podcast.
Yeah.
And it just opened my eyes. It opened my eyes, and social media has opened my eyes. So it's just, National Adoption Week to me is. It's not a celebration. That's all I'm saying. It's not something to be happy about, I don't think. Personally.
I think it's maybe, if you went back 7 or 8 years, it was sort of billed as a big do. And I think it's probably a bit more measured and a bit more subtle now. And it's interesting because it's Kinship Care Week this week, like when we're recording. So that's the week. And I think they've got a report coming out, and interesting to see that everyone sort of jumped on the back of the Adoption Barometer, the UK model, and everyone's sort of doing the thing. And I think Kinship are going to start doing something similar. PSA UK have done something similar. And I think, great. And some of the statistics for Kinship were really stark. And I think that is something we are really keen to hear more about. So we're going to just watch it from afar, really. I don't think I'm going to any events. No. I mean, I'm in London, and if someone invites me somewhere, I'll go. I'm
He's
not
just putting it out there.
I'm in London from the I think the 20th, no, the 17th to the 20th or whatever. And if anyone wants me to, I will honestly go at the opening of an envelope. So don't worry about that.
And he will as well.
I will, absolutely.
I promise you that.
I'm an absolute tart. So there's a couple of bits of legislative shenanigans. Are you up for a little chit chat about that?
Yeah, go on. As long as you tell me what they are.
I'll be brief. And I think one of them is we mentioned it before when the government did a consultation, the DfE did a consultation in terms of removal of Ofsted registration requirements for providers of adoption support services, where those providers are working under contract with an adoption agency. So that was one proposal that was consulted on. And the second one, probably the one that's probably got more headlines and probably is much more emotive, is the removal of Ofsted registration requirement for providers of adoption-related counselling and therapeutic services to adults.
Mm-hmm.
And the government's come back and gone, yeah, we're going to do it. So that's really good.
That is, especially for the second
surprised.
one. No, especially for the second one. You have to bear in mind, and this is the thing, because I am not as up on information as I used to be, because well, let's be honest. Twitter is no longer Twitter, is it? And you see what you
It's X.
get shown. Yeah, you see what you get shown these days.
Yeah.
So these sorts of things do skim me by because I don't spend any time on there, particularly these days. And I know that that's a disappointment for many and probably a celebration for many more. However, I don't really. That was my information station. Do you know, that's where I used to get all my information.
Your earlier point stands in that maybe 5 years ago, an announcement like this would have generated a lot of people wanting to have a conversation around that online, but people now just going, I ain't going to use the A word online because I'm going to get, it's going to get ugly potentially.
Absolutely, yeah. However, I will say that, the thing that comes to mind, I saw a comment earlier today about it actually, about records and things like that. And, as long as your adoption agency doesn't have a fire, then you should be fine for your records kind of thing. But I think that's long overdue. I absolutely think that's long overdue in terms of that, because it's just the right thing to do. Let's be honest about it. It's just the right thing to do, because people who were adopted need to be able to access those services, and to have to go through an Ofsted registered agency or whatever you call them, organization, when in actual fact, I don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's cowboys. I am absolutely sure there's cowboys, and I'm sure that we'll hear about that in time to come, because obviously,
I could tell you some stories. Anyway, we'll not go there.
Exactly. But we had Pam Hodgkins on ages ago, didn't we? And NORCAP was one of the first organizations to kind of reunite people with their files and all that sort of stuff. And that conversation hasn't left me, because I would hate, I have every single document that was ever written about my young people. And I'm actually looking at them now, because we've got them in our bedroom so that there's, secure and what have you. Yes, I record a podcast in my bedroom. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry to, make you think that we're in a nice BBC studio somewhere, but we're not. I'm literally lying on my bed talking to Al.
It's like the illusion is
shattered. Illusion is shattered. But in all seriousness, I'm looking on it, and I can put my hand on, every document. Right now, there is no interest in them accessing those documents, but they know they're there. They know they can have them at any time. Their life story books sometimes disappear because they want to have a look through them and all that sort of stuff, and that's all fine. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has been able to, have that kind of experience of their, and I'm sure you're the same with over time with all your kids as well. That you've got the documents there. They can. They can just access them. They can just have them at any point.
Yeah.
But not everybody's experience is that. And I'm not saying that, everybody's experience is the same, because it clearly isn't, from what we know from social media and the conversations that we've had with people and stuff like that. But when it's there and you want to see it, you should be able to. That's the point. So,
absolutely,
all kind of having to apply for your flipping files. But it's your files. They're your files. They're that person's files. And just going through all that rigmarole to get them is just ridiculous. Absolutely bloody ridiculous.
It is. And that's the DfE, that the DfE doesn't explicitly talk about that. But then the second item, which is a report from the Public Law Working Group interim report on adoption best practice in respect to adoption. They've reported, and I'll put a link in the show notes. It is a massive read, so I'm not, and I'm not going to pretend to have read it all. I've sort of read through it's broken down into 5 very specific areas. Now, if you've got the time and can bear me reading, I'll tell you what they are really briefly. It's considered a current legal process for making adoption orders in England and Wales, and whether any reforms or changes are necessary to make it efficient and fit for purpose. Looking specifically at contact, that idea of maintaining family links, access to adoption records, which is what you said, processes and procedures in court, international adoptions. Yeah, so there's 5 there. And I would really recommend people it's an interim report, so people are saying, look, well, the judge is just this judge, and I'm going to try and get it wrong.
I know. Yeah.
So I don't want to go too deep into it, but I would encourage people to go and read it, and because they're looking for feedback from it, and I know that they take it very seriously. I know that it's the judiciary, so it's a different it's not the DfE. It will be kind of held in a very different way, but I think there's some really interesting stuff, and I don't want to again get too far deep into it. But I think it was asking lots of really interesting questions about things which I was surprised. I was reading it going, isn't this stuff we're already doing? It was in terms of notes on preparation for adopters. There's one bit, I'm trying to find if I'd written it down. Yeah, so there's one bit, this is a bit technical, but courts should consider in the right case the use of Section 51 of the Adoption and Children Act 2002, which contemplates the making of a contact order now or any time after the making of an adoption order. I'll not read the rest, but what it's saying is that actually, is there a case for making a contact order that is binding? Because right now that's
it's a bit wishy-washy, isn't it? Yeah,
but it's not being used, and I think that it's lots of considerations like that. Also, in terms of supporting birth parents, which again, if this podcast this week, Christy, talks about. She's Christy and Chrissy. Alternatively, depends on who you ask. Okay. And I said which one. She went, I'm happy either. But she talks about the impact of support on her and sort of life. That really caught her at the right moment has really helped her to kind of move on that some people just don't get access to. So I think I would really recommend people go and look at that, and I will put the link there, and then we will do all we can to get Justice Jude on and come and make sense of it. And
absolutely.
I think she's up for it, but we just I need her email address, basically. I have no idea. It's probably in there somewhere, isn't it? I'll have a look. But I'd rather do it like it to her rather than just into inbox. Yeah. So I'm trying to get the right email address. So that it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on, but which sort of backs into the conference. And I think there was a lot of course, there's more to do, but I think Mark Owers, who friend of the show, was really right. And he said, we can change the future. Mm-hmm. We can put in all this stuff now and we can see affecting everyone who comes behind us. But what do we do for people like Pam's Hodgkin's generation? Those, people like Lizzie Harvey, who's, again, the generation below. My children, your children, what do we do for them where contact has been bodged, basically?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, bless you.
Thank you. Clearing my throat there. Well, Scott, I think that that is all. I've got nothing else to add to this wonderful conversation. We've rattled through an awful lot of stuff.
Yeah, we have. I was just going to mention, because we've had the Irish podcast come out over the summer, haven't we?
Yes,
yes. One more to go, I think.
2 more. Oh no, which one? The kinship. We've done the kinship.
The kinship went out.
Adoption went out.
Bernardo's for adoption went out.
Very good one.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, they were all great. Don't get me wrong. But that one specifically was great because it really taught me a lot about Ireland and where we stand on adoption and stuff like that. And we've got the foster care one to come out.
Yeah, but the Irish one dovetailed with the
it did. Yeah,
the adoption one we've done here, and it just kind of like, that's really serendipitous.
It was, yeah. But
the fostering one was good. It was very good.
Yeah. But that's the one that's due to come out, isn't it? The fostering one.
Yeah, it's coming out this month. Yeah, sometime.
So, but within all of that, then we've had Better Me, Better You do their podcast conversations.
Those crazy guys.
They're crazy. They're absolutely mental. But do listen to them because they talk a lot of sensible stuff, and it's great to see.
Know what to talk about.
And then between all that, we've had FASD Ireland ones, which is I'm still very tentative about doing them.
Why, Scott?
Well,
is that because you don't understand technology and just keep sending me one recording of all of the audio, so I can't mix it right?
Apart from that, it's still finding our feet because it's obviously, I'm obviously co-host with you on this podcast, but then doing it yourself is completely different when you're not as technology.
It's whatever you want to call it. It is. It's pedultry.
Well,
I
did another one last week, by the way, but you're never going to hear that.
What?
One. Yeah, I did another one.
Why do you get invited onto so many podcasts?
Because I'm such a nice person, and you're
no one ever invites me onto podcasts.
Yeah. says it all, really, doesn't it? Anyway, long story short, with the FASD Ireland one, so we're 3 episodes in. We're doing series. I'm doing them in series, and the reason I'm doing that is because we're now on 174th episode of this podcast, and that's just a mouthful now. So I'm doing them in series, and they'll sit on our FASD Ireland's website there and stuff like that.
That's cool.
But so the reason I'm bringing it up is because we have a really good couple of podcasts coming up. So the first one, the next one to come out will be me and Triss, actually. And I haven't recorded it yet, but the reason I'm bringing it up is because there was a survey done in Ireland for FASD, and it wasn't the most in-depth survey, shall we say, in terms of respondents. So the respondent size wasn't great, but it was done by the Trinity College in Dublin, which is they do a lot of research and stuff, and it was done by a lady called Dr. Katie Tobin, who is massively interested in FASD and neurological kind of disorders and stuff like that. So the launch of that report came out last week, and Tris and I attended. So we're going to be talking about that, and it just seems to dovetail in with the Irish kind of conversation. England is 20 years ahead of Ireland in terms of FASD. We're still, it's still trying to push doors open to get people to understand about FASD and stuff like that in Ireland. And we also have the final episode of the podcast will actually be with what we call MPs in the UK, a TD here. So an elected government representative for our area who has taken a massive interest in FASD, and we interviewed her last week, myself and Rob, and that was so insightful in terms of
that sounds great.
A government representative being introduced to this condition that she knew nothing about. A mother of six, yeah, and she's younger than me. I'm just saying, a mother of six, right?
You're not that young, Scott.
She had her last child last year, right? So that's how young. I did say to her on the podcast, said, "You've got a TV now, haven't you? Because you can't have any more. It's like 6 kids." Anyway, she's an independent TD, and it was just so insightful in terms of her understanding of it, how she's learned, how she's educated herself about FASD and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, our kind of numbers of listeners are really good, but I just think if you want to know where FASD sits in Ireland, these podcasts are really good to kind of understand more about how different Ireland is about it. And it's been an amazing experience, but I'm just going to be doing these 6, and then next year we'll decide whether we do another series or not.
Have a little think.
Yeah, we'll be a bit more further forward with that at that stage.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We've got some other stuff as well coming on the podcast. If you recall, we've got a paid collaboration, which is rather exciting.
We do. I know.
Big time. With the University of Sunderland, and they've got a project.
The money's spent. But,
we spent it. We blew it on cuddly toys and fast living.
Holidays,
yeah. Lunches out and the podcast dime. So they run a series of events, like a program of projects called Pull Up a Chair, and it covers a whole range of issues around children and social care in schools, and but this specific one is looking at exclusions and children who are not attending schools, or children who are struggling to attend schools. So we're going to be interviewing people whose children are struggling to attend schools, and we're going to be looking at the whole issue of why that may be, what the impact there's been on them as a family, of kind of how schools, how schools manage that or don't manage that.
And to be honest, I know enough. I mean, I don't know a lot about what's going on in the UK at the minute, but I know enough to know that the rate of number of children not in school is a huge thing at the minute. So I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of try and the paid bit's the interesting. No, it's not. It's like a paid a sponsorship or partnership. But we've also got Ellie Costello from Square Pegs as well, who's kind of leads it through, and they wrote a book beginning of the year. And she's coming on the podcast in a week or two. So that's really good. We've got loads of really interesting people coming on. So thank you for listening. And if people would like to, we do this for free, apart from our just having said paid. To be fair, that's the first time we've ever been paid for anything. Yeah, in 7 years. And we don't make a big thing of it. Why would we? We do it
Well,
because we love
we
talking
do.
to each other, and we do talk
Yeah.
crap most of the time.
Oh,
But well, you do. But
how rude.
we do enjoy it. But yeah, I think we should do that buy me a coffee thing.
Oh, I don't know, because I think people have to say whether they're buying a coffee. I quite like it. The minute people start paying you, then you have to be sensible and like do
Well,
things
that's
on
true.
time.
And then yeah, I know. This is sponsored by some
sponsored by
mattress company
mattress
somewhere.
company, yeah. Or hemorrhoid cream or something. I don't know. Or
online therapists. That would be the perfect
funeral
one.
parlor.
Yeah. Oh, shut up!
Oh, too soon.
Too soon, way too soon. Like it's literally 3.5 hours since I was lying on the floor in the vet's, kissing his ears. Bless him.
No, there's an image.
Honestly, you have
no, I'm with you
at all, do you?
I totally have, and let's not open up a whole can of worms, but I've been walking Hadrian's Wall, and as you know, so anyway, and with my dog Esther, who's 8.5, and she's not young, but she's not old. She's in between, and she's doing fine. And I just got this real sense of I've had lots of dogs over my life, but this dog like Esther is just, and I thought there's a real sense of we're just journeying through life a little bit together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
having met her, I know she is like the apple of your eye.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so she's taught me a lot about life anyway. But what I was trying to say before you before you got into money was if people, what would really appreciate if people have got this far in the podcast is to people put a review wherever they listen to their podcast. It really just does help. So whether that's just click stars or put in a really quick review, obviously don't say bad things. People,
because if you we just delete them anyway, so that's fine.
Well, we can't.
No, we can't actually. That's true.
So if you look, what's
well
great
done.
on that?
Well done, Al. That's the trolls at it now. This is the worst podcast in the world.
Look, any attention is attention.
Well, true.
Yeah. So if you look on Apple, there's some like 1-star reviews, and you go, should have been that bad.
Can you just? You need to frame that properly because they were from like 7 years ago when we used Skype. We used Skype, dear listeners, and it was just. Even I listen to them now and go, oh, dearie me, that was the worst. Our sound quality was rubbish.
I'll say. But now we're proper BBC, aren't we? This is the BBC.
On this one, on this one we are.
Yeah. Well, you're a bit. I didn't want to say at the beginning, but you're a bit
blowy.
You've got your plosives a bit blowy.
Yeah,
so if you'd moved it down a bit,
well, no, it's right.
It'd be fine. Anyway, we're so into the long grass now. So put a review on Spotify or Google. Google Podcast is ending. That's found out.
Oh, really?
You might, and if you've got an Alexa, listen to the Adoption and Fostering podcast. Get your kids to go into the local Apple store and subscribe every device to us. All of that, every little helps. We'll take anything.
Like you did over the summer. Yeah, well done.
Hey, what are you going to do with your 12-year-old? Bit of ragamuffinry.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Scott, look after yourself. I hope your day gets better, and I hope that that Tris gives you a big cuddle.
Unlikely, but whatever.
Yeah. And I shall put videos of our little avatars on there. And what I thought I might do is send you mine and keep yours, and we could always have. Anyway, that's creepy, isn't it? Okay.
I just love that Mrs. C did it. Honestly, she's hilarious. She is absolutely hilarious. And I knew nothing of that. And normally she would message me beforehand and say, I'm going to do this. So fair play to her.
Yeah, fair play to that woman.
Barely I'm out of favour. Whatever.
God bless her. Anyway, and on that note,
nice chatting. Yeah.
Anchovy.
Bon Jovi.